6:30, and we are live. Welcome to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael M. Hotep, and we have a lot to talk about today. I was on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, on Thursday, March 30th. I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, March 31st, and on Roland Show, we dealt with the indictment of Donald John Trump on over 30 counts, is believed over 30 counts dealing with business fraud. There's a good article from CNN.com dealing with this. I've read articles from CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, etc. But there's a good article from CNN.com dealing with this. Also, there's a good piece from the New York Times that deals with why Manhattan Attorney General Alvin Bragg went on with this investigation. Went on with this. Well, it went before the grand jury, and why he went on with this prosecution of this case. Okay, so we'll talk about that also. This is a good article here from CNN.com. Donald Trump indicted by Manhattan grand jury on more than 30 counts related to business fraud. So we'll discuss this, and we'll discuss what are some of the next steps as well. Okay, we'll discuss that also. All right. Also, when I was on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, on Thursday, we discussed new developments coming out of California dealing with the Reparations Task Force, the California Reparations Task Force. And they've been tasked with coming up with a formula dealing with reparations, as well as putting together the study that laid out the harms that African Americans in the U.S., but especially in California, had suffered as a result, as a legacy of slavery, Jim Crow segregation, redlining, etc. So we know that the 500-page report had been issued in, it was June 1st, 2022, that the 500-page report came out. We know there's a July 2023 deadline for their final analysis and their next report to come out. What came out this week, and we talked about this on Faraji Muhammad's show, is that economists that are working with the Reparations Task Force, economists are estimating that it could cost at least $800 billion to help repair the damage that Black Californians have experienced over the past decades. And there's a piece from ABC Channel 7 from Wednesday, March 29th, 2023, that deals with this. And it says it could cost California more than $800 billion to compensate Black residents for generations of over-policing, disproportionate incarceration, and housing discrimination. Economists have told a state panel considering reparations. The preliminary estimate is more than 2.5 times California's $300 billion annual budget, and does not include a $1 million. It does not include a recommended $1 million per older African American resident for health disparities that have shortened their average lifespan. Nor does the figure count compensating people for property unjustly taken by the California state government, or devaluing Black businesses, which are two other harms the task force says the state perpetuated. Okay, so we discussed this on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture. $800 billion, that's not going to happen. So don't hold your breath on that. But I want you to hear our conversation. I've been going through reading the executive summary for the California Reparations Task Force. A lot of this history I'm familiar with because I teach this history. But I encourage people to read at least a 28-page executive summary if you don't read the full 500-page report. I'm going to read the full 500-page report. I've read excerpts of it, but since I talk about reparations, I need to actually read the report. I wish other people would do their due diligence because I can listen to what they say and tell that they haven't read anything. So we'll discuss that also. Now, last Sunday, I wasn't able to get to the story dealing with Harriet Tubman. There's a Harriet Tubman monument in Newark, New Jersey, and it's replacing a Christopher Columbus monument. So we'll discuss that also. And 20 Michigan high schools are to teach the African American AP, the AP African American Studies course this fall that has been banned in the good old state of Florida under Ron DeSantis, and Florida needs to be desanitized. Okay, so we'll talk about that as well. And there's one other story I wanted to get to. This deals with Rosa Parks. Race was left out of Rosa Parks' story in a revised lesson, in a revised weekly lesson text for Florida schools. And this highlights confusion with the Florida state law dealing with what can be taught regarding history in schools, things like this. We'll also give you a preview of the online class that I teach on Saturdays, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, and you can register for that 12-week online class at our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. All right, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Or visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. Okay, so I want to jump into this first topic here. This is dealing with the indictment of Donald John Trump. Now, we haven't seen the indictment has not been unsealed yet, so we don't know precisely what the charges are. But if we look at this article here from CNN, okay, and let's go back to this article from CNN. Donald Trump indicted on by Manhattan grand jury on more than 30 counts related to business fraud. Okay, so Donald Trump faces more than 30 counts related to business fraud in an indictment from a Manhattan grand jury, according to two sources familiar with the case. Okay, hold on. Let me see. I hate all these ads popping up. We're going to go to a different news source. I can't deal with this from CNN. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office has been investigating the former president in connection with his alleged role in a hush money payment scheme and cover-up involving adult film star Stormy Daniels that dates to the 2016 presidential election. Grand jury proceedings are secret, but a source familiar with the case told CNN that a witness gave about 30 minutes of testimony before it voted to indict Donald Trump. Now, the decision is sure to send shockwaves across the country which it did. Now, for some of us, we were saying Trump is a criminal. He should have been brought up on charges before. We know he was in office, and there's a Office of Legal Counsel memo that states that a sitting president can't be charged, can't be indicted. Now, that should be thrown out, okay, because no person is above the law. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, WFDF. The call-in number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. Back from break in 3 minutes. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. Back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by, everybody. Back from break in 2 minutes. All right. We got Denise. Denise said, thank you for the show. Thank you for the show. We've got Denise. We have Sunflowers. Stand by. Back from break in 1 minute. Back from break in 1 minute.
The opinions and the facts. I'm your host, Michael and Hotel. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the History Network show. We do recurring events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, that's without consequences. Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation. Okay, the calling number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. So those watching on Facebook and YouTube, let's see, Denise posted, thank you for this show. Sunflowers said, good evening. We've got Joya Sales. She said good evening also. She's watching on YouTube along with sunflowers. All right, let's go back to our lead story. This is dealing with the indictment by Donald John Trump, twice impeached president, former president of the United States. And it should have happened long before now, but I do understand these things take time also. All right, if we go back to the article here from what just happened, if we go back to the article here from CNN, okay, this is, let's go back to the piece here from CNN. Hold on. And then also, NBCnews.com has a good article as well on this same topic. Okay, let's go to the piece from, I don't know what's happening. This is freezing up. Let's go to the piece from NBC News on this topic here. All right, stand by. So the 2:15 p.m. on Tuesday, the arraignment is going to take place. All right. And we're going to, the indictment is going to be unsealed. So we're going to find out exactly what the charges are. It's speculated, NBC News confirmed with two sources as well as CNN, that is dealing with over 30 counts of business fraud, over 30 counts of business fraud. Let's look at here. I don't know why this is doing this. Okay, so Trump faces about 30 counts in New York in grand jury indictment. The exact charges are still under seal, but they are expected to be revealed when Trump is arraigned. That court hearing is expected on Tuesday. So Trump is headed to, he's going to be in New York on Monday, and he'll be in court on Tuesday. Let's go to this article here from NBCnews.com. Okay, Trump faces 30 counts in New York grand jury indictment. This is from March 31st, 2023. Former President Donald John Trump is facing about 30 charges in New York City related to document fraud connected to hush money he allegedly paid to cover up affairs. Two sources familiar with the matter told NBC News after he was indicted Thursday. The exact charges are unknown because the indictment remains under seal until Trump, who is campaigning to reclaim the presidency in 2024, and it's suspected that he's campaigning and wants to be president again to shield himself from further indictments, to shield himself from further legal cases. But he is going to appear in court for this arraignment on Tuesday at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Though the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg could unveil the charges sooner, he probably won't unveil the charges sooner. Now, the case is just one of at least 3 criminal probes into Donald Trump, who during his single term in office also earned the ignoble distinction of being the only U.S. president to be impeached twice. Now, we know that the spineless Republicans in the U.S. Senate were too cowardly to convict him, especially on the second, especially the second impeachment, which dealt with inciting an insurrection to overthrow the government so he could stay in power. But they were too cowardly to vote to impeach him, even though the evidence was right in front of them. Okay, this is why all of them have to be voted out of office as well. They are unfit to hold public office. Now, Dave Ehrenberg, the prosecutor in Palm Beach County, Florida, where Donald Trump lives, said on MSNBC on Friday, quote, although Alvin Bragg is the first prosecutor in the history of our country to indict a former president, he's likely not going to be the last. He's likely not going to be the last. No, you have Fani Willis, Georgia. So no, Alvin Bragg is not going to be the last. There are going to be other charges. You have the special counsel with Jack Smith. Charges are expected there as well, dealing with the January 6th insurrection that Donald Trump incited allegedly. But we saw it, and he sat up in the White House and watched the insurrection on TV and did nothing for 187 minutes because they were doing his bidding. Now, Donald Trump also faces both federal and state investigations into his efforts to overturn the 2020 election, which have been gaining steam. The federal special counsel is also investigating Trump's role in the discovery of hundreds of documents, with classified markings at his Florida home in Mar-a-Lago and private club. And some of those documents were in his own desk as well. Okay. And he's admitted the documents were his that were at Mar-a-Lago because he said, I want my documents back. He said he has the right to have them because he was the former president. He said, I want my documents back. So he can't say these aren't mine because you admitted that they were yours because you said you wanted them back. Trump plans to return to New York a week after his arraignment to sit for a deposition in an unrelated civil lawsuit brought by New York State's Attorney General. Now, this is a civil lawsuit, according to a source with direct knowledge. Officials in that case are seeking $250 million in penalties, alleging that Donald Trump, his real estate company, and his 3 adult children systematically defrauded lenders, tax authorities, and others. Who would believe that Donald Trump would defraud lenders? He has such a good payment history. Who would believe that this guy that's been involved in 4,000 lawsuits would defraud lenders? You've got the wrong Donald Trump. Now, the lawsuit, which came after a year-long investigation into the Trump organization, alleges more than 200 instances of fraud over 10 years. So it's not one or two, it's not 3 or 4, it's not 5 or 6, it's not 20 or 30, it's not even 40 or 50. They allege more than 200 instances of fraud just over the last 10 years. So the New York City criminal case centers on more than $250,000 paid ahead of the 2016 election to 2 women, including adult film star Stormy Daniels, to remain quiet about affairs he allegedly had with them. Now, this whole thing is going to be bigger than just Stormy Daniels. When they unseal this indictment, this is going to be much bigger than Stormy Daniels. And a lot of these lying-ass Republicans who are going around saying that this is nothing and covering for Donald Trump and saying, oh, this is the weaponization of the federal government. Okay, let's remember Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's former attorney, who was his attorney for 10 years. Michael Cohen was prosecuted under Donald Trump's Department of Justice, where William Barr was the head of the Department of Justice. Yeah, the guy that aided and abetted Donald Trump, Attorney William Barr, the guy who went out and lied about the findings of the Mueller investigation, that William Barr. Okay, so Michael Cohen was convicted under Donald Trump's corrupt Department of Justice. But you got people like Republican from Ohio, Jim Jordan, who sits, who chairs the weaponization, the subcommittee dealing with the weaponization of the federal government. He turned a blind eye to the weaponization of the federal government under Donald Trump. So as far as I'm concerned, all these criminals belong in prison. Let's start with Donald John Trump. But all these other Republicans that were aiding and abetting and the coup plotters as well, all of them belong in prison. But at the very least, we need to vote their asses out of office and make sure that they never hold public office again, because they are totally unfit to hold public office. Okay, so let's go to the phone lines very quickly. Let's go to Larry on line 1. Larry, welcome to the African History Network show. Where you calling from? Thanks for holding.
Michael, thank you for taking.
Go ahead.
Am I on speaker?
Go ahead. Yeah. Come on, you're on the air.
Very loud echo back. But anyway, Michael, I thank you for taking my call. I want to make an announcement, and if you could please say something. I'd like to say my deepest sympathies, remorse to the death of Dr. Randall Robinson.
Yeah.
If you could just say something about that, and we're on the subject about the reparations. No one fought that particular fight harder than Dr. Robinson.
Yes. Okay, we're coming up on the break. We'll hold you over. We'll discuss this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael M. Hotel. We'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, stand by, everybody. You can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. We have the information on the homepage of our website, also theafricanhistorynetwork.com. When you go to our Cash App, when you go to our Cash App account, it'll say Michael. It may show my picture there also. Let me show you it here on the homepage of our website. Okay, so this right here, our website is theafricanhistorynetwork.com. Okay, paypal.me/the AHN show. And this is our official Cash App account. Some of these other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. Ours is $ the AHN show, SHOW. That's the actual Cash App tag, $ the AHN show. When you click right here on Cash App, it takes you to our QR code. Okay. All right, stand by. Back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by. Okay, back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by. Okay, we just posted the link there for our Cash App and PayPal. Stand by, back from break in 1 minute. Also, you can register for the online classes that I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. We have that at our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com also. What the hell is this?
The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of an AM Superstation or Adele Media. We got the topics, the guests, the opinions, and the facts.
I'm Brother Michael M. Hotel. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do current events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on.
This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy so elections have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation. Okay, calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. So we'll go back to the phone line here in just a minute. So right before the break, we were talking about the big news that broke a couple of days ago is dealing with the indictment of Donald Trump. And he's being indicted on at least it looks like over 34 counts of business fraud. Okay, it's believed that this is tied to hush money payments to Stormy Daniels and one other woman. On Tuesday, April 4th, which is also the anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we know that the indictment will be unsealed, and we'll find out for certain what the charges are. Okay, let's go back to very quickly here. Let's go back to Larry on line one. Larry, go ahead and finish with your comments.
Yes, Michael, I'm just deeply saddened to hear the death of Dr. Robinson. I'm just wondering whether or not we know the cause of Dr. Robinson's death. I know he had left the United States going to St. Kitts, and he had been living there, he and his family, and I didn't hear of anything about an illness. So I'm just wondering whether or not there was something, that could have been responsible for his untimely death. So if you could please make mention of that, and if you know of information, please provide that as far as funeral services for Dr. Robinson.
All right. Thanks, Larry. Thanks for calling. Okay, yeah, he died of pneumonia. Okay, he died of aspiration pneumonia. He was 81 years old. There's an article from CNN.com dealing with Randall Robinson, who fought against apartheid in South Africa and fought for reparations as well. Randall Robinson tirelessly, hold on, let me close these ads out. Randall Robinson tirelessly pushed world leaders toward equity before his death at 81. This is from March 31st, 2023 from CNN.com. And here's a picture of Randall Robinson. This is an older picture from like the 80s. This is during a demonstration against South African government's apartheid policies at the South African Embassy in Washington, D.C. Randall Robinson went from growing up in segregated Virginia to spending decades promoting equity for people of African descent from all around the world. The human rights advocate and lawyer led the fight to end the apartheid in South Africa. He lobbied for humane policy for Haitian refugees and called for reparations for Black Americans. Last week, Randall Robinson died at 81 years old of aspiration pneumonia in the Caribbean island nation of St. Kitts. His wife, Hazel Ross Robinson, told CNN. A statement from his wife said, apart from his work as a public figure, he was very loving, dependable, protective, caring husband and father. He was a joy to know and a joy to love. He was as committed to being a source of stability and security to his family as he was to being a force for fairness and justice in the wider world, WIDER. He shall be missed very, very much by me and by his family, his wife said. Now, he was born in Virginia in 1941. Randall Robinson grew up experiencing racial discrimination and attended segregated schools. He graduated from Harvard Law School and became a civil rights attorney in Boston. For Randall Robinson, those early years were the catalyst of life, dedicated to political activism and his fervent passion to speak up against racism. Read more about Randall Robinson. CNN.com has this article and the other articles written on this. I know Roland Martin talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Randall Robinson tirelessly pushed world leaders toward equity before his death at age 81. Okay, let's go back to, I want to go back to this piece here from, this is from NBC News. We're going to clip one here in just a minute. Doug, clip one from Roland Martin Unfiltered. So the New York City criminal case centers on more than $250,000 paid ahead of the 2016 election to two women, including adult film star Stormy Daniels, to remain quiet about affairs he allegedly had with them. Prosecutors are expected to say Donald Trump tried to illegally hide the payments. The large number of charges most likely stems from prosecutors making separate charges for each payment in question. Trump has denied the affair but acknowledged the payments. Two sources familiar with the Manhattan grand jury's work say prosecutors also question witnesses about a previous alleged hush money payment to former Playboy playmate Karen McDougal. In 2018, longtime former Trump attorney Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to breaking campaign finance laws and admitted to making hush money payments of $130,000 and $150,000 to two women. Okay, that's in 2018. Now, at the direction of a candidate for federal office, a clear reference to Donald Trump, though he was not named, with the purpose of influencing the 2016 election, according to court documents. Okay, at the direction, Michael. Let's see. In 2018, longtime former Trump attorney Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to breaking campaign finance laws and admitted to making hush money payments of $130,000 and $150,000 to two women, quote, at the direction of a candidate for federal office, end quote. A clear reference to Donald Trump, though he was not named. Quote, Michael Cohen went on to say, quote, with the purpose of influencing the 2016 election, end quote, according to court documents. Now, the sums match the amount paid to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. Now, Karen McDougal had said she had a months-long affair with Donald Trump long after he married Melania Trump, which Donald Trump has denied. She was paid through the parent company of the National Enquirer, a Trump-aligned tabloid that purchased exclusive rights to her story, which it never published, in a catch and kill operation to protect Donald Trump. Now, Michael Cohen is now the government's star witness. Prosecutors are expected to allege that Donald Trump falsified business records to cover up the payments to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, which they are expected to say amounted to illegal campaign expenditures. Prosecutors are expected to charge Trump with falsifying business records, a crime that gets upgraded from a misdemeanor to a felony when the false records are used to cover up another crime, which in this case would be campaign finance laws. Okay, who would imagine that Donald Trump would falsify business records and try to cover up crimes? I mean, he's such an upstanding American. Who would think he would stoop so low to do something like that? Now, Donald Trump has said that the payments were a legal expense and that he did nothing wrong, alleging that the prosecution is a political witch hunt. Well, they're about to find more witches. I guarantee you that. If you think this is a witch hunt, they're about to find more witches. The judge assigned to my witch hunt case, a case that has been never charged before, hates me, Well, that's because there's never been a president as corrupt as Donald Trump before. Now, Richard Nixon should have been prosecuted. Richard Nixon should have been impeached. Richard Nixon should have been held accountable legally, but there's never been a president as corrupt as Donald Trump. Okay, he said this on his little knockoff Twitter platform called Truth Social. Okay, there ain't no truth in it. Okay, we'll continue this on the other side of the break. I want you to hear what happened on Roland Martin Unfiltered when we discussed the indictment of Donald John Trump. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael M. Hotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. Okay, stand by. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a heart. Give us a like on this broadcast. All right, we're going to the clip from Roland Martin Unfiltered. Okay, everybody, we're celebrating the 13th anniversary of me broadcasting the African History Network show. Started October 10th, 2023. So you can support us through PayPal and Cash App. Also, be sure to register for the online history classes that I teach also on Saturdays and Sundays. We're going to post the information here. Missed our class on Saturday. You can still, as soon as you register, you can watch it. This is a 12-week online course. So our next class is Saturday, April 8th. Okay, we posted the link here, so you can register for it. Click on the link. Takes you to our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. So we had a great class on Saturday, April 1st. Saturday, April 1st. As soon as you register, you can watch it. Even after the 12-week online course is over with, you can still go back and watch the classes over and over again. You'll still have access. Bathroom break in 1 minute.
On the African History Network show, we do current events of history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on.
This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy to electrify consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM.
910 AM Superstation has the greatest advertising deal.
Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Okay, let's go back to our lead story. This is dealing with the indictment of Donald John Trump. All right, so we discussed this on, and we know he's so according to two sources, CNN confirmed this as well as NBC News. Trump faces about 30 counts in New York grand jury indictment. The exact charges are still under seal, but they are expected to be revealed when Trump is arraigned. It's believed that this is going to be over 30 charges, or right around that number, related to document fraud connected to hush money he allegedly paid to cover up affairs. Okay, now, we discussed this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, March 31st. And we're going to clip one, Doug. Here's what happened on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
This is absolute comedy hour, Kelly. I just sit here. I mean, I'm getting great joy out of watching them lose their minds.
I mean, the matter is they are going to lose their minds regardless, because Trump, for the most part, is their God. This is their deity, and they really do worship him on the right. And it's sad because at the end of the day, not only do we not know what the indictment is for yet, he's not a president anymore. He's a private citizen, and private citizens can go to jail. Private citizens can get arrested. Private citizens have to follow the law, period. This is not a situation in which he is a sitting president where, constitutionally you can't be, I can't remember the exact verbiage, but basically you can't be convicted while you are a sitting president. But he's not a sitting president anymore. He's basically relegated back to celebrity status, which means that you are a private citizen. So they can go after him for whatever, and it is completely fine. It is completely legit,
right?
And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Michael, it's just, again, if you want to see hypocrites, just watch all of these people, because every time we turn around, they're yelling law and order. They're like doing right, follow the law, respect district attorneys, respect law enforcement, except when we don't like them.
Well, they also say comply. If you had just complied, everything would have been all right. They always say comply. Now, what's going to happen, Roland? And I've seen some of the senators commenting as well. I saw Lindsey Graham on Fox News begging last night for Fox News supporters to donate to the legal fund of a billionaire. Why does a billionaire need other people to pay his legal bills?
Because his ass not a billionaire.
Exactly. But this is going to happen, Roland. I'm waiting for one of these Republicans to get hemmed up. And the reporter's going to ask them, wait a second, if everything was the same, but the difference was it was Barack Obama instead of Donald Trump, you mean to tell me if they were indicted for document frauds, over 30 counts of document frauds, if they were indicted on the same thing, you would be here defending that as well? Because that's what's eventually going to happen. If this was reversed, and it was Barack Obama instead of Donald Trump, Republicans would be against what they would be calling for the indictment of President Barack Obama. Remember, they damn near wanted to impeach him for wearing a tan suit during Easter.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is the chickens coming home to roost. I'm here for this.
Okay, pause it right there. All right, so there's going to be a lot more fallout from this. I think what's going to happen is when the charges are read on Tuesday, you're going to have a lot of Republicans who are going to be running scared because they went out here defending Donald Trump, didn't know what the charges were, didn't know what he was accused of. Now they're going to have to defend their defense of him, okay, after they find out what the charges are, okay? And a lot of these Republicans are cowards, and they're scared of Donald Trump's base also. If we look here at a couple of quick articles, because there are a ton of articles I've seen on this, but we don't have time to go through all of them. We're going to clip two here in just a minute, Doug, that deals with Fox News and the Dominion lawsuit. Okay, if we look at this analysis right here from New York Times. So this is very important. We know that Cyrus Vance was also on MSNBC. He was on Meet the Press today with Chuck Todd. Okay, mediocre Chuck Todd, who got taken off of MSNBC. Thank God, I hated Chuck Todd, but he still hosts Meet the Press. Cyrus Vance is the former district attorney in Manhattan. There's a good article from NBC News about that, so we'll go to that in just a minute. But this piece here from New York Times is very important. Okay, this is from March 31st, 2023. How Alvin Bragg directed the case against Donald Trump. How Alvin Bragg, who's the African-American district attorney there in Manhattan right now, who Donald Trump is calling a racist. If that's not the pot calling the kettle black, Mr. S-hole countries himself, Donald Trump is going to call an African-American man a racist who's just following the evidence and upholding the law. And African Americans don't have racism is a power structure. Racism occurs when one race of people control the majority of the wealth, power, resources, benefits, privileges, land, access to education, access to opportunity, money, wealth, jobs, etc. African Americans don't have the ability to be racist. We can be bigots. We don't have the ability to be racist, but this is just following the evidence. This is just following the law. The party of law and order has lost their way, and they need to be held accountable. And the chief person who has helped derail the party of law and order is Donald John Trump, who messed around and found out. And that's a polite way of saying it on FCC regulated radio. He messed around and found out. A year ago, the investigation into the former president appeared from the outside to be over, but a series of crucial turning points led to this week's indictment. Okay, here's Alvin Bragg. Okay, very courageous man. 1 year ago this week, the Manhattan District Attorney's investigation into Donald John Trump appeared to be dead in the water. The two leaders, the two leaders of the investigation had recently resigned after the new district attorney, Alvin L. Bragg, B-R-A-G-G, decided not to charge Donald Trump at that point. Amid a fierce backlash to his decision and a brutal start to his tenure, District Attorney Alvin Bragg insisted that the investigation was not over. He insisted it was not over. Now, all these talking heads on MSNBC and CNN that were calling him all types of names and how could you not indict all this, they owe Alvin Bragg an apology because they didn't know what the hell they were talking about. They owe Alvin Bragg an apology. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 3 minutes. Okay, give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. Back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by.
To current events, history, and so much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire.
Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, let's go back to, I want to go back to this article here from the New York Times, and it's dealing with what changed in this investigation. Okay. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, this time last year, said he was not continuing with the investigation. So what changed? Before we go back to that, be sure to visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. Register for the online history classes that I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. We had 2 great class sessions this weekend. When you scroll down the page, you'll see the information about our radio show. You'll see me there in the studio. We're celebrating the 13th year anniversary of me broadcasting the African History Network show. I started October 10th. It was March. It was March 10th, 2010 that I started broadcasting. You scroll down, you see the information dealing with the classes that I teach: Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. And then, so the classes on sale, $80, regularly $130. The next classes are Saturday, April 8th, April 15th, April 22nd. The classes are 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then the second class that I teach, this is on Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, Black resistance movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. We had a great class session today. Of that class, we talked a little bit about the Black exclusion laws of 1844 in Oregon and how Oregon banned all free African Americans. We talked about Pio Pico, who was the last governor. He was the last Mexican governor of California before California became a state in the Union. He was Afro-Latino, Pio Pico. We talked about the Compromise of 1850 as well, and California coming to the Union as a free state in 1850. And we talked some about the Bleeding Kansas as well, with the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, but Bleeding Kansas, which was armed conflict in the Kansas Territory from about 1855 to 1858. Okay, so visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, to register for those classes. All right, if we go back to this article from the New York Times from March 31st, 2023, how Alvin Bragg resurrected the case against Donald Trump. And all these Simple Simons on CNN, MSNBC, all these woke ass progressive hosts that were calling Alvin Bragg names and talking about him and why aren't you prosecuting all this? They all owe him an apology. They all owe him an apology. And if you notice, I never went after Alvin Bragg, because I understand you got to have an airtight case. If you're going to shoot for the king, you better not miss. That's why I haven't gone after Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland is heading up the largest investigation that the Department of Justice has ever had, and that's into the January 6th insurrection. Okay. And charges are coming. That's why he appointed Special Counsel Jack Smith. He's following Department of Justice policy. They're going to have charges on Trump also. Okay, and there's going to be a whole lot of people running their mouths on cable news that are going to owe Merrick Garland an apology as well. Okay, now amid a fierce backlash to his decision and a brutal start to his tenure, Manhattan Attorney General Alvin Bragg insisted that the investigation was not over, but a disbelieving media questioned why, because a lot of them don't know what a lot of these people, some of these people I know on like MSNBC, stuff like that, a lot of these people don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just trying to fill up airtime, to be honest with you. A lot of them, they may have their areas of expertise, but some people need to learn how to stay in their own lane, because I can listen to them tell they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Some people need to learn how to stay in their own lane. If you don't know, just say you don't know. But a disbelieving media questioned why, if the effort was still moving forward, there were so few signs of it. Now, Alvin Bragg told the New York Times in an early April 2022 interview, he said, "Unless y'all are great poker players, you don't know what we're doing." Ooh, that's how you do it. They don't try cases in the media. They're not telegraphing what they're doing. You're gonna find out what's happening when that 2,000-pound anvil drops on your head. Okay, unless y'all are great poker players, you don't know what we're doing, quote unquote. Now, what they were doing, new interviews show, was going back to square one, poring over the reams of evidence that had already been collected by his predecessor, Cy Vance. Cy Vance was on MSNBC. He was on Jen Psaki's show today, former White House press secretary. He was also on mediocre Chuck Todd's show, Meet the Press, today on NBC News. Okay, there's a good article from NBC News about the interview that Cy Vance did. Now, for a time, their efforts were haphazard as they examined a wide range of Donald Trump's business practices, including whether he had lied about his net worth. Yes, he did. Yes, Donald Trump lied about his net worth. That's why he's begging people to help pay his legal fees. What the hell? Why is a billionaire asking other people who are not even millionaires to send him money? Now, this grifter raised $4 million. He raised about $4 million right after the indictment has been announced, because he's a grifter. Okay. And you had Lindsey Graham on Fox News begging for Donald Trump, asking people to send in money to help Donald Trump fight these charges. Now, isn't it ironic that before Donald Trump left office, he could have given a pardon to the domestic terrorists who he sent to the U.S. Capitol building to overthrow the government, to interrupt a constitutionally mandated bicameral, that means joint session of Congress, the House and the Senate, when they were certifying the Electoral College votes. He sent these domestic terrorists there to interrupt, to stop that session taking place, okay, so that he could stay in power. Some of his domestic terrorists were yelling, "Hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence." He put unbearable pressure on Mike Pence, and for once in his life, Mike Pence did the right thing. Now Mike Pence wants to run for president. This is why he's still trying to cater to Donald Trump's base, so he can't come out and say what he really wants to say about Donald Trump, who put Mike Pence and Mike Pence's family in jeopardy, because Mike Pence's family was there in the Senate chamber, okay, as well, on January 6th. So you have this taking place, and Donald Trump trying desperately to stay in power. All right. So you're going to have, there are going to be more charges coming. I said before, 2023 is going to be the worst year of Donald Trump's life. And the worst thing Donald Trump ever did was run for president. Because I said when he ran, all this stuff is going to come out. Okay. All this evil is going to come out. The chickens are coming home to roost. Okay, so for a time, their efforts were haphazard as they examined a wide range of Donald Trump's business practices, including whether he had lied about his net worth. Yes, he did. which was the focus of the investigation when Alvin Bragg had declined to seek an indictment. But by July 2022, Attorney General Alvin Bragg had decided to assign several additional prosecutors to pursue one particular strand that struck him as promising: a hush money payment made on Donald Trump's behalf to adult film star Stormy Daniels during the final days of the 2016 presidential campaign. On Thursday, Donald Trump was indicted on that strand. Oh, he messed around and found out. That's what happened. Thursday, March 30th, 2023, a day that will go down in infamy in American history. The traitor in chief, okay, the long arm of the law caught up with the traitor in chief. Now, Donald Trump is expected to surrender to authorities in Manhattan on Tuesday and face arraignment on more than 24 charges, which will be unveiled at that time. Now, Tuesday, 2:15 p.m., that's must-see TV. I'm telling you right now. Tuesday, I know Roland Martin will probably be broadcasting live. We're going to pick up his feed. We'll share that on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. You remember on, what was it, NBC? You used to have must-see TV or something like that. Tuesday, 2:15 p.m., the whole world is going to stop. At least in America, it's going to stop. Everybody is going to be watching on TV or watching on social media to see the arraignment of Donald Trump. Now, I don't care about a perp walk. I don't care about him being handcuffed, all this. I want to hear the charges. Then I want the reporters to go chase down every last one of these cowardly Republicans who are out here defending Donald Trump, because they know damn well if that had been President Barack Obama, they would be calling for Obama to be put up underneath the jail. You can't find one Republican who's out here defending Trump who would defend President Barack Obama if he paid hush money to a porn star, cheated on his wife, and then his attorney paid the hush money, and then he's brought up on charges of over 30 counts of business fraud. Okay, you can't find one of these Republicans who would defend something like that. All right, now this account of Alvin Bragg's decision to revive the investigation and pointed toward a hush money arrangement based on interviews with about a dozen people. Okay, based on interviews with about a dozen people familiar with the matter, reveals the circuitous and sometimes uncertain road that led to the first criminal charges against a former American president. Okay, along the way, a key internal skeptic of the investigation became one of its champions. Alvin Bragg, Attorney General, shook up the Trump team and hired an experienced lawyer away from the Justice Department to help lead it. And he ultimately found new promise in a key witness he had once disregarded as unreliable. The district attorney also emboldened last year, Alvin Bragg, Attorney General Alvin Bragg, District Attorney Alvin Bragg, was also emboldened last year when his prosecutors won a conviction of Donald Trump's company in an unrelated tax case. Now, when that took place and Alan Weisselberg went to prison, okay, I said, okay, so the Trump organization was found liable, but it wasn't Donald Trump himself. But I said that right there, that's the beginning of the end right there. That case right there is the beginning of the end. And that led to this here. Now, also it's important to understand, I know we're coming up on the break, right? We found out about all of this because of Stormy Daniels. All right. Well, I'll give you one guess who broke the story about Stormy Daniels right here on 910 AM, the Superstation WFDF. That was me. I was the first talk show host on this station who broke that story dealing with Stormy Daniels. I was on Cliff Russell's show, and we know Cliff Russell passed away a few years ago. I was on Cliff Russell's show right here on 910 AM, and I was on my computer, and the story came across from rawstory.com. The story came across my Facebook feed, and it was about hush money payments and Stormy Daniels and all of this. And I said, Cliff, look at this. Okay, we were on break. We were on break, commercial break, and I said, Cliff, look at this. Okay, and then when we came back from the break, I broke the story. All right, listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael M. Hotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 3 minutes. Back from break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute. Okay, we've got Michelle. We got Michelle Merritt. We've got Michelle Green, Eric, Ben Gorgie, Denise, Vanessa. Just a few of the people watching.
The opinions and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael M. Hotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do recurring events of history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on.
This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, let's just have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right. Okay, calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600. You can also support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. You can visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, for more information. Okay. In just a minute, Doug, we're going to go to clip number 2 from Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right, so let's go back to, let's get this picture up here of Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels. And I said this is going to be Donald Trump's downfall when I said this is a campaign of finance law violation. When the story broke, I said, this sounds like campaign finance law. Some people were saying, oh, no, it's just sex. It's just that. No, that sounds like that's associated with the campaign. I think that's a campaign finance law violation. Let's go back to this article from the New York Times dealing with what changed in this case. Okay. And what changed was what I thought happened. It was a different angle that Alvin Bragg pursued based upon researching the case. And they started at square one, started all over. After all these people on cable news and were pulling their hair out, and Ali Mustal's gray afros on fire and things like this, and Joanne Reed about to have a conniption and all of this, okay? All these people owe Alvin Bragg an apology. Now, last April 2022, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who's a Democrat, had a chance to move on from the ex-president Donald Trump and turn his tenure toward his initial motivation in running for office, reshaping the criminal justice system in Manhattan. Now his willingness to wager his political future on the case against Donald Trump will be tested like never before. His success or failure is inextricably tied to the former president. Winning an indictment is one thing. Winning a conviction of Donald Trump will be far more difficult. The decision to revisit the case, despite his earlier reservations, has opened Alvin Bragg to criticism from the former president's supporters that he is blindly pursuing Donald Trump. No, he's not blindly pursuing Donald Trump. He's following the evidence. The case has also exposed the district attorney to a wave of hostile and racist rhetoric from Donald John Trump, the traitor in chief, and his supporters. Some of them were at the 2021 insurrection, trying to overthrow the government. Now, Attorney General Alvin Bragg, a career prosecutor, has received vivid death threats, including one that was mailed to his office last week. In a statement on Thursday, March 30th, 2023, after the indictment was reported, Donald Trump called the case a political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history, adding that Alvin Bragg was a disgrace and calling himself a completely innocent person. Interesting. Okay. We'll see. He's going to have his day in court. Read the rest of this piece here from the New York Times, how Alvin Bragg directed the case against Donald Trump. And this is by John E. Bromwich, Ben Protis, and William K. Roshbaum, March 31st, 2023 for the New York Times. New York Times has some really, really good coverage. I've been reading the coverage from the New York Times as well as Washington Post and NBC News. So also something that came out on Thursday, I think it was, is dealing with the Dominion lawsuit, $1.6 billion Dominion lawsuit against Coup Plotter TV, the Fox News Network. Okay. We talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, March 31st. Let's go to clip number 2, please, Doug.
Fox News is getting sued by Dominion because they allowed folks to come on the air and lie, and their hosts lied. The executives knew they were lying, and they try to claim it's the First Amendment. Well, guess what? They got their asses handed to them today, where the judge just went off on them. Xavier, check this out. The judge said, quote, "The evidence developed in this civil proceeding demonstrates that is all caps, bold-faced, crystal clear that none of the statements relating to Dominion about the 2020 election are true. The judge wrote this in his 81-page ruling. He is allowing this, and then he said, the court finds as a matter of law that the statements are either fact or mixed opinion. The statements were capable of being proven true, and in fact, the evidence that would prove the statements was discussed many times but never presented. This story says he also knocked Fox's neutral reporting claim, finding, quote, the evidence does not support that FNN conducted good faith, disinterested reporting. FNN's failure to reveal extensive contradicting evidence from the public sphere and Dominion itself indicates its reporting was not disinterested. Xavier, this is huge because Dominion is suing them for $1.6 billion. They have uncovered evidence where Suzanne Scott, the CEO of Fox News, literally said, stop the fact checkers from fact checking Trump's claims because our audience is getting upset. It's bad for business. How about lying being bad for business? And you know what's going to be bad for business? Getting smacked with $1 billion judgment. And in fact, the judge purposely did not limit the damages when this thing goes to trial next month. This could be a huge, huge blow to Fox News. And I'll be pouring out some black yak for that one too.
Yeah, pour it out. And F around and find out is undefeated, Roland. I think that it's so interesting that the New York Times versus Sullivan case and being central in terms of protection of journalism and free speech and being able to report on matters. Fox News turning it completely on its head and being openly defamatory for profit and admitting that they're being defamatory for profit to please an audience, to feed them lies, and admit and openly have a record to this. This will eventually lead to uncovering more evidence about how terrible Fox News has been. If anything, this presents the opportunity for Dominion to move for summary judgment in its favor against Fox News. Don't necessarily think that will happen per se, but this advances a very, very, very strong case against Fox News, puts them in a hell of a box, and they're in hell of trouble.
I mean, Michael, to sit here and look at the stuff that Dominion has revealed, where their own hosts say they're lying.
Right.
They've got text messages. They've got emails. They've got them in their own words. They got Rupert Murdoch admitting under deposition, yeah, we weren't telling the truth. And they're trying to use the First Amendment as cover for lying? Nah, that ain't how this works.
Yeah, this was all about ratings. They were afraid of losing Trump voters if they told the truth, and Trump voters would go somewhere else like OAN or some other medium. And it's even worse than that. What came out during the deposition is that they would go. They do have a fact checking group, and they will go to the fact checkers to check claims that Trump and Trump acolytes were making, things like this, find out that they're false, but still put them on the air anyway. And that's documented as well. Okay? So hopefully this bankrupts Fox News. The other thing is that organizations like Color Change and other organizations, just like they went after Bill O'Reilly's advertisers, they and other organizations need to go after Fox News' advertisers again over this as well.
Here's the thing, Kelly, that I'm just getting a kick out of. So you were afraid that your viewers were going to flee and it was going to cost you money. Now this is going to cost you money.
A lot of money, $1.6 billion worth of money, which is a lot of money. And here's the thing, the contradiction between what people within Fox are saying, the rationale behind them doing this, and then what the statements are that they're putting out as to why they're doing this. So for example, I'm reading one of the statements that a Fox News person, a spokesperson for Fox News said, and they said, quote, "This case is and always has been about First Amendment and the protections of the media's absolute right to cover the news." And the fact of the matter is that what they did was exactly the opposite of what they're saying this case is about. They didn't deliver the news. They delivered propaganda. They delivered lies. They delivered ratings.
Okay, let's pause it right there. Okay, cool. All right. So when we come back from the break, we're going to shift topics, and we're going to go to this next story. And this deals with the California Reparations Task Force and Economists saying that it could cost upwards of $800 billion to repair the damage to African Americans in California. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. I'm Michael M. Hotep. You listen to the African History Network show. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, back from break in 4 minutes. Okay, how's everybody doing? Okay, back from break in 4 minutes. I gotta get ready for this next segment here. Back from break in 3 minutes. Okay. Let's get this clip here on. Back from break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute.
The guests, the opinions, and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael M. Hotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do recurring events and histories and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish fire of white supremacy. See, elections have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, we're going to change topics here, and we're going to deal with this update dealing with the California Reparations Task Force coming out of California. This was Thursday, March 30th. Wednesday, March 29th. It's an article from the Associated Press and ABC Channel 7 out in California picked this up also. California reparations amount, if any, left to politicians. Okay. And the leader of California's first in the nation reparations task force on Wednesday, that was Wednesday, March 29th, said it won't take a stance on how much the state should compensate Black residents whom economists estimate may be owed more than $800 billion for decades of over-policing, disproportionate incarceration, and housing discrimination. Okay, the $800 billion is more than 2.5 times California's $300 billion annual budget, and does not include a recommended $1 million per older African-American resident for health disparities that have shortened their average lifespan. Okay, so we discussed this on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, when I was on Thursday, March 30th, 2023. Let's go to that clip, Doug, please.
Let's talk about reparations. Another development came up over the past couple of days, and as it relates to reparations for the state of California. Of course, California has been on the forefront creating a reparations task force, which is deemed with having conversations and really creating a model on how the state of California, one of the largest states in the country, could possibly issue reparations. Now, there has been much talk about this, and I want to bring my brother Michael and Hotep back into the conversation as we look at this situation of reparations in the state of California. But here's the big development is, Brother Michael, is the cost of budget-busting costs for the state of California. Take a look at this, folks. It could cost California more than $800 billion to compensate Black residents for generations of over-policing, disproportionate incarceration, and housing discrimination. Economists have told a state panel considering reparations. The preliminary estimate is more than 2.5 times more than California's $300 billion annual budget, and does not include a recommended $1 million per older Black resident for health disparities that have shortened their average lifespan, nor does the figure count for compensating people for property unjustly taken by the government who is devaluing Black businesses. And it says that for devaluing Black businesses, two other harms the task force says the state perpetuated. Wow. $800 billion. Brother Michael.
Right. Yeah, don't hold your breath on that. That's not going to happen. That's more than 2.5 times the annual budget of California. The annual budget is $300 billion. So I appreciate the economists doing that calculations, but at the end of the day, and I'm all for repairing the damage of slavery, racism, Jim Crow segregation, redlining, housing discrimination, education discrimination when it comes to getting bank loans and home loans and all of that. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you think that you're owed. The only thing that matters is how much you can collect, or what you can collect, and what you can actually keep once it goes to court and you get sued and people try to block you from getting what you say that you're owed. Okay, so when we look at this, so two developments happened. Number one, there was the article from ABC Channel 7, abc7.com, which they picked up from the Associated Press, called Reparations for Black Californians Could Top $800 billion. And this was what economists came up with. And as you stated, it didn't include theft of land and different things like this, right? Secondly, the article that came out today from the Associated Press, March 30th, 2023, California reparations amount, if any, left to politicians, because the California Reparations Task Force is leaving it up to the politicians in the state assembly in California to really put a price tag on it and determine what should be paid out. They refer to Attorney Camila Moore, the leader of California's first in the nation reparations task force on Wednesday, March 29th, said it won't take a stance on how much the state could compensate Black residents whom economists estimate may be owed more than $800 billion for decades of over-policing, disproportionate incarceration, and housing discrimination. So I think it's good that they don't put a price tag on it now, the California Reparations Task Force, because whatever price tag you put on it, and the greater the price tag, the more it's going to be attacked. Because in the article from ABC Channel 7, they also talk about the argument against reparations as well. So you have to defend yourself and strengthen your argument to defend against those arguments against reparations. One of them is that, well, you know, there was somebody they quoted and said, well, my family came here. They were white, of course. They said, my family came here after slavery ended, didn't have anything to do with slavery, things like this. Now, it's important to understand. I encourage everybody who's watching this, I encourage you to read at least the executive order, the executive summary, I should say, the 28-page executive summary from the California Reparations Task Force 500-page report. Because if you read that executive summary, it gives you a greater understanding of U.S. history and what happened to us, as well as history of California, and it outlines 12 harms. It outlines 12 harms: political disenfranchisement, racial terror, housing discrimination, separate and unequal education, racism in environment and infrastructure, pathologizing the Black family, control over creative, cultural, and intellectual life, stolen and hindered opportunity, unjust legal system, mental and physical harm and neglect, and the wealth gap as well. Okay, so the best strategy in California and nationally at the federal level to get something tangible that we can keep, because with 13.5% of the population nationwide, California, African Americans are 5.5% to 6% of the population. Shift the focus away from talking about slavery, because California really does not have a history of slavery. They've identified about 1,500 African Americans that were in a semi-slavery status of 1850 and afterward, when California came into the Union as a free state. Shift the focus to present-day structural inequities. Deal with the laws and policies that were put in place to bring about those structural inequities, and then you can trace that back into history and show how it's related to slavery. But one of the most important things you have to understand is take the title reparations off of it. The reason why is when you talk about reparations and you put that title on what it is that you want, you automatically bring up a whole lot of resistance to it from the larger community before you even get to talk about what it is that you want. Okay? So take the title off of it.
Market it differently.
You gotta market it totally different. When you are the minority population in the city, state, country, and the majority of the people that gotta vote for what you want are white, okay, you've got to market it different if you actually want to accomplish something and be able to keep what you want. Okay,
right, so let me
focus on the policies that you want and push the policies that you want. One,
right.
Two, show how those policies will not just help you, but how repairing that damage will also help the larger community, the country, etc. You have to market this different.
One of the things that you mentioned was, the approach that the Reparations Task Force is taking, which is allowing the state government to determine what the price should be.
Because the state government has to vote on this.
Because they got to vote on it.
Yes.
So my thinking is, and my question to you, Brother Michael, is that an effective strategy, considering the fact that, you have an economist that's throwing it out there, $800 billion.
That ain't gonna happen.
Right? Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. I mean, the state is not going to give up more than 2.5 times more of its budget for a single group of people.
For 5.5% of the population? Of 6%? Hell no. Just like in California, that's not. Just like in San Francisco. Okay?
Right.
What
should we be determining? I guess my question would be, should the task force determine what the cost should be? Because if you put it in the hands of politicians, couldn't we shortchange? Wouldn't that put us in a position to shortchange ourselves?
What
if they say, okay, we want to give y'all $200 million, or okay, let's say we'll give you $100 million.
I would focus on the policies that you need to repair the damage. Okay. If you read the 28-page executive summary, have you read the executive summary?
Not yet.
Read it. If you read the 28-page executive summary, those different harms that I talked about, they go through and explain those harms, how they took place in California, and how they harmed African Americans. It was laws and policies that inflicted the harm upon us and continue to do it. It's going to be laws and policies that correct the harm.
Okay, so pause it right there. We'll pick this up on the other side of the break. Now, it's important to note in the article from Associated Press, Camila Moore, who's the chair of the California Reparations Task Force, said that their task was to create a methodology for calculation for various forms of compensation that correspond with our findings. Their task was not to put a price tag on it. Okay, we'll continue this on the other side of the break. Okay, back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute. All right. If you all like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Also register for the online history classes that I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. That is Saturday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just posted the link here. Visit theafricanhistorynetwork.com.
Guests, the opinions, and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael Hotel. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do recurring events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on.
This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, let's just have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, before the break, we were talking about the new developments that came out of California this past week dealing with the California Reparations Task Force. If we look at this article here from the Associated Press. California reparations amount, if any, left to politicians. This is from March 29th, 2023. As I was saying right before the break, the task of the California Reparations Task Force was not to put a price tag on how much reparations would cost, but to come up with a methodology. It's going to be left up to the state legislature to put a price tag on it. If we look at this paragraph here in the article, it says, but the panel's chair, Camilla Moore, who is an attorney, said Wednesday it's up to the state legislature to ascribe a restitution amount. It's up to the state legislature to ascribe a restitution amount based on the methodology economists recommended, and which the task force approved on Wednesday. Quote, the task force is pretty much done regarding the compensation component. Our task was to create a methodology for calculation for various forms of compensation that correspond with our findings, end quote, she said in an email. Now, for those who support reparations, the staggering $800 billion estimate underscores the lasting harm African Americans have endured, even in a state that never officially endorsed slavery. Several people who gave public comment Wednesday spoke on the urgent need to pay Black Americans for all that was taken from them. Okay, don't wait on, don't hold your breath for a big check coming. That's not going to happen. And whatever gets passed in state legislature, there are going to be lawsuits filed. So hopefully they'll be able to keep whatever they pass in the state legislature. Okay, I want to go back to this clip here from Faraji Muhammad Show, The Culture, from Friday, March 30th, 2023. We're discussing this topic. Let's go back to the clip, Doug.
Permit to determine what the price should be.
Because the state government has to vote on this.
Vote on it.
Yes.
So my thinking is, and my question to you, Brother Michael, is that an effective strategy, considering the fact that, you have an economist that's throwing it out there, $800 billion.
That ain't gonna happen.
Right? Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. I mean, the state is not going to give up more 2.5 times more of its budget for a single group of people.
For 5.5% of the population of California, 6%? Hell no. Just like in California, that's not. Just like in San Francisco. Okay.
But should we be determining? I guess my question would be: should the task force determine what the cost should be? Because if you put it in the hands of politicians, couldn't we shortchange? Wouldn't that put us in a position to shortchange ourselves?
What
if they say, okay, I want to give y'all $200 million, or okay, let's say we'll give you $100 million.
I would focus on the policies that you need to repair the damage. Okay. If you read the 28-page executive summary, have you read the executive summary?
Not yet.
Read it. If you read the 28-page executive summary, those different harms that I talked about, they go through and explain those harms, how they took place in California, and how they harmed African Americans. It was laws and policies that inflicted the harm upon us and continue to do it. It's going to be laws and policies that correct the harm. Cash payments can be part of, and once again, we have to have comprehensive reparations. Cash payments can be part of a comprehensive repairing of the damage or dealing with the structural inequities. But when you start coming out with these amounts that are greater, 2.5 times greater than your annual budget, or 7 times greater than your annual budget, like in San Francisco, that's not going to happen. And what happens is that the opposition attacks those huge numbers without giving any other details.
Right.
They just attack those huge numbers.
Yeah, you're right. Let me go to the culture crew and get their take on this, because this is, and again, like you said, like this could, by economists putting this type of information out there, it does more harm than good to the larger effort, right?
And they probably meant well. The economists probably meant well with it.
Right.
But see, it's just like San Francisco, right? The $5 million per eligible African American. If 20,000 out of 50,000 African Americans qualify for that, you're talking about $100 billion. That's 7 times greater. That's 7 times the annual budget of San Francisco, which has a $14 billion annual budget, and they're facing a $728 million budget deficit over the next 2 years. That's fantasy. That's fantasy. Now, at the meeting where that was proposed from San Francisco, there were 111 policy recommendations made. They don't even get a second look because people are focused on Fantasy Island. And that's how you tank the whole reparations movement, by just putting these numbers out here, even though people mean well. Focus on the policies that you need, push the policies to repair the damage, as opposed to these huge dollar amounts that are astronomical. Even though you could say, hey, we are owed this. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we think we're owed or what we can even prove. What matters is what you can actually collect and keep after you get sued.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Pause it right there, Doug. We're out of time. Pause it right there. Okay. Now, everybody read the article. So you can go to Roland Martin's YouTube channel, Roland S. Martin, and also on Facebook. Also download the Black Star Media app, because that's Roland's 24-hour media network. So all the shows that I'm on, his show and Faraji Muhammad's show, that's on the 24-hour media network. It's on Amazon, a Fire Stick, and everything. It's all over the place. You can download the Black Star Media app. So and listen to 9:10 a.m. WFDF at the same time. Read this article here from CBS News. Racism has cost the U.S. $16 trillion. Citigroup finds. Okay, September 23rd, 2020. And in this article, we've talked about this numerous times. It breaks down and it shows how racism is hurting everybody. America could have been $16 trillion richer if not for inequities in education, housing, wages, and business investment between Black and white Americans over the past 20 years, new research includes. So this is just looking at from the year 2000 to 2020. It's not looking at 246 years. It's not looking at since 1865 or anything like that. It's not looking at 158 years. No, it's just a 20-year period. The study by Citigroup Bank is the latest in a body of research that attempts to quantify the economic impact of systemic racism. And racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race. Citigroup arrived at a $16 trillion figure after estimating that Black workers have lost $113 billion in potential wages over the past 2 decades because they could not get a college degree. The housing market lost $218 billion in sales because Black applicants could not get home loans. About $13 trillion in business revenue never flowed into the economy because Black entrepreneurs could not access business loans. All right, we're out of time here. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. Visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. Right now, it's correct your own behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next week. Peace. Okay. All right, let's continue this. Let me disconnect from the radio station. Okay, now about $13 trillion in business revenue never flowed into the economy because Black entrepreneurs could not access business loans. What's more, the U.S. could have $5 trillion in gross domestic product over the next 5 years if those gaps and others were closed today, the study indicated. So if you close those gaps, you're dealing with policy. If you correct those policies that maldistributed wealth pond resources, away from African Americans into the hands of Europeans, if you correct those policies, the U.S. economy can grow by $5 trillion over the next 5 years, which is a huge growth. Quote, racial inequality has always had an outsized cost, one that was thought to be paid only by underrepresented groups, Citigroup Banking Chair Raymond McGuire said in a statement. What this report underscores is that this tariff is levied on all of us. What this report underscores is that this tariff is levied on all of us. Now, Federal Reserve data shows that white households' net worth grew 43% to $61,200 between 1995 and 2016, while it remained flat at $35,400 for African American families. Okay, Moody's Investors Service found that 44% of African American households owned their own homes in 2019, compared with 74% of white households. And one of the main ways that people accumulate wealth in this country is through home ownership. All right, and that goes back to the redlining, housing discrimination, restrictive covenants, largely being locked out of being able to take full advantage of the GI Bill benefits, etc. Okay, so check that out. Now, you can read the California Reparations Task Force study, and I encourage everybody to do it, especially if you're going to talk about reparations, if you're going to post about reparations on social media, because a lot of this stuff is just fantasy, and most of what we think we know about reparations, most of that stuff is false also. Go to oag.ca.gov, oag.ca.gov. Rob Bonta, so this is the Attorney General of the state of California, Rob Bonta, reparations report. And when you scroll down, it shows the link for the full interim report, executive summary, key findings, and preliminary recommendations. Okay. All right. So, okay, check that out. Okay, last story, and then we got to get out of here because I've got to go. There was a piece from, well, I saw a number of different articles dealing with this. NBC News has a story dealing with Harriet Tubman Monument in Newark, New Jersey. It replaces Christopher Columbus, designed by artist Nina Cook John. The monument recognizes Harriet Tubman's connection to the city and her leadership of the Underground Railroad. Okay, so this is from March 10th, 2023, by Claretta Bellamy. A monument to African-American pioneer Harriet Tubman was unveiled in Newark, New Jersey on Thursday. Okay, so this was around March 10th. So that would have been Thursday, March 9th. Thursday, March 9th, 2023. Taking over a space where a statue of Christopher Columbus, who never came to the land that we call the United States of America, and who was a master of genocide and a colonizer, taking over a space where a statue of Christopher Columbus stood until the summer of 2020, because there was a reckoning that took place after the murder of George Floyd, and there were protests across the country and around the world. So a lot of those symbols of white supremacy were being taken down. Some were torn down. I'm against people tearing down statues, but a lot of those statues were taken down. Now, during the ceremony in what is now downtown Newark's Harriet Tubman Square, formerly Washington Park, Mayor Ras J. Baraka explained Newark's connection with Harriet Tubman, who helped, quote, shepherd folks out of slavery into freedom, end quote, he said. Now, the city, which is now 48% African American, 37% Latino, according to the U.S. Census, was a known stop along the Underground Railroad, which was a network of routes escaped slaves followed to find freedom in states that had abolished slavery. Ras Baraka said, quote, very little is known about the history of abolition in the city of Newark, New Jersey, and this gives us a chance to tell that story. Now, the name of the monument is Shadow of a Face. Okay. Now, this is a 25-foot tall monument that's made up of steel that extends into a trellis visitors can walk under. Timelines of Harriet Tubman's life and Newark's abolitionist history are displayed on a circular wall as an audio narration by Newark native Queen Latifah plays overhead. The monument's title was inspired by writer Robert Hayden's poem, Runagate, okay, Runagate, which describes runaway slaves searching for freedom through the Underground Railroad. Now, Nina Cook, the architect who designed the monument, said that it is meant to evoke feelings of awe, curiosity, and a sense of connection. Okay, awe, AWE, curiosity, and a sense of connection. Quote, I really want them to feel like they feel seen. I really want them to feel like they feel seen, said Nina Cook John, who is 50 years old and lives in Montclair, New Jersey. I don't know if she's happy with y'all putting an age out there, but anyway, that they see themselves in this monument, that they feel represented, that they feel connected, that they feel like they belong in this space. Okay. Now, founder of Studio Cook John Architecture and Design, her projects include a master plan for the New York Botanical Garden and a 3D holiday installation, point of action that was on view at the Flatiron Public Plaza in New York City from November 2020 to January 2020. Okay, read the rest of this at NBCnews.com. In Newark, a Harriet Tubman monument replaces Christopher Columbus. Okay, so that's some good news right there. Hopefully more people will learn about the history of Harriet Tubman, learn about the history of the Civil War, learn about African-American history, etc. These other stories we'll get to next week. We have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. You can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, because we definitely need your support. This helps us finance the show. Keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, do the research for the classes, etc. Pay some of the bills so we can keep going another 13 years. We're celebrating our 13th year anniversary of me broadcasting the African History Network show. So $ the AHN show through Cash App and also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show, and register for our online classes also. Okay. We have to get out of here. We'll talk to you next time. Peace. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody.